come together. So data merging. Formally, this is the 6th video on pre-processing, on the educational series of webinar on pre-processing in high-dimensional data analysis. Why we need to pre-process the data, why we need to merge the data in high-dimensional data analysis. Mainly because most of the algorithms that comes basically later, like tSNE, SPADE, k-means, FlowSOM, well, they usually rely on some random initialization, okay, on some random step. And this means that if you run the same algorithm with the same setting, and in principle with the same data set, but let's say with a slightly different data set, you will end up with really different results. And this is a very basic example. I took 3,799 events from one file, and then I took 3,800 events, so just one event more, from the same file, and I ran tSNE with the same identical setting, same parameters, same scaling. Everything was the same, just one event more or one event less. And you see that the mapping, it's completely different. So it's really hard to compare. None of them is good, none of them is bad. They are just different. So if you do this, and then you want to compare, if you run tSNE or FlowSOM or whatever on 10 different samples without merging, you will end up with 10 different mapping, and it will be really hard to compare them. So with data merging, we want to end up with a common map. So in FCS Express, there are two ways in which you can merge the data. We will see both of them, because sometimes it's better to use one strategy. I mean, better, it's more, let's say, quick and easy and more efficient to run one strategy. And in some other scenarios, merging, I apologize. And in some other scenario, it's easier and faster and makes more sense to run the other strategy. So the first one, I call it step by step, because you see it requires you to run the pipeline on the pre-processing pipeline, okay? So gating, blah, 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 blah. And on each individual file, export the pre-processed file as an individual file, and then merge them. The second strategy, I call it on the fly. You load all the files as a merge file directly since the beginning without any pre-processing, and then you run the pre-processing on each file individually, directly within the same layout, directly within the same pipeline. Which are the advantage? One of the advantage, but maybe you can find other, or either one or the other scenario. One of the advantages that I found in the first is that you can use data-specific gate. So if the gate of interest is really variable, you might want to get to go with that strategy. The second one is that the on-the-fly strategy, it's really like fast and simple. You don't need to export any FCS file. You can run everything into the same layout. So it's really up to you. I will do it. I will do both of them with you today. I will just do it with one of the two algorithms that we mentioned before, like either FlowCut or FlowAI. It doesn't matter. You can run on either of them. Okay. So let's say like FlowAI. Or we can do one strategy with one and the other strategy with the other. That's okay. Okay, so we have created a pipeline. And again, this can be with FlowAI or this can be with FlowCut. It doesn't matter. Now we're going through this one step by step. Okay, so we need to run the pre-processing pipeline on each sample independently, and export the results as new independent FCS file. So if we have like 10 FCS file, we will end up with 10 pre-processed FCS file. What does it mean pre-processed? Pre-processed means that the pipeline will be run on them. So they will be cleaned, gated, scaled, downsampled. Let's do 2000 just to have a little bit more events. Okay, so how to do this? First of all, you see that I do have multiple samples. You might have like 100. If you click on sample number 2, you see sample number 2, it's loaded and the pipeline it's automatically applied. How can we export the results automatically for all of them? Well, you can go to data and click on batch export. Okay, so which file we want to pre-process? I want all of them, 9. I want to export them as individual file. Okay, I want to export them as FCS file. Where I want to export them, let's say new folder. Oops, new folder, pre-processed file. Okay, how do we want to call them? So the asterisk means the original file name. So for example, if I keep it like this, that will be called with the original file name. And basically, I will not be able to distinguish them between the non-preprocessed. I mean, they are in a different folder, but the name will be the same. What I usually do is be really clear. So those will be cleaned, gated, scaled, and downsampled. So the first file will be called cleaned, gated, scaled, downsampled 427040.001 FCS. In your case, it might be like cleaned, gated, scaled, downsampled, sample 1. Now, if this sounds too long, you can do something like, I don't know, cleaned, gated, scaled, and downsampled. Okay. Anyway, be creative and do whatever you prefer, whatever it's meaningful for you. Which compensation? If you select default, means use the layout options. Okay, so it's really important, for example, when each file has a different compensation. So in my layout options, my options are use for each file its own compensation. And if I told FCS Express, give me access to both compensated and uncompensated data, FCS Express will give me access to both uncompensated and compensated data. Which transformation you want? The new pipeline, because the new pipeline is the pipeline, the pre-processing that I want to apply. No parameter to export. Do not change anything here. Do not change anything here. Do not change anything here in the gates. Keep there as it is. Okay. So click export. FCS Express will apply the pipeline and will export the results. Okay. So let me close. And what we have here are 9 pre-processed, and with pre-processed, I mean cleaned, gated, scaled, downsampled files. Now we are here in step 2. Load the pre-processed file as merged file into the data list. Very easy. I usually open a new layout because I want to keep all the layout as a pre-processing layout. I can always go back and change or re-export. And this is my analysis layout. So I can go to the data list. Now I want to load those pre-processed file. Here we go. As, this is really important, as merge file. So they will be loaded all together. Here we go. You see here, for example, let me load here. We have a file identifier or classification identifier. Those are all the 9 files, all concatenated together. Okay. I can change the parameter. You see it's gated on gate 1, sorry, on sales gate. We also have the scaled parameter. You see comp scaled and so on. So this is the stage, the moment in which you start running the actual algorithm. So as an example, if you want to run UMAP, you can go straight and run a UMAP on this file. While I can go straight, do I need to scale? No, because I already have the compensated and scaled parameter here. I can select all the one I want. Maybe I don't want this one, okay? And I can apply this, and then UMAP will be run. Do I need to gate? Well, no, because this is already gated on cells, okay? Of course, if you want to refine your gates, you can do it. If you want to apply an additional level of downsampling, because anyway, you merge, for example, I don't know, 100,000 cells for 50 different samples, and you end up with 5 millions, and you want to now downsample to one, feel free to add the downsampling step here. Okay, feel free to follow all the rules that we saw before. So this was strategy one. Again, the idea is you run the pre-processing pipeline on each file independently. You generate a new FCS file, and then you load those FCS file into the data list. Again, why I like this strategy, even if it's like a two-step strategy, because it allows you to use, and sorry, let me open it again. It allows you to use data-specific gate here. So for example, what we've done so far was using the same cells gate for all. But let's say that on sample 3, you want to make this gate data-specific, and you want, let me do something crazy, okay, like this. Okay, that's fine. You go to data, you go to batch export, you do whatever we've done, and file number 3 will be exported this way. So the pipeline for file number 3 in the gate downsampling step will export the sales gate as you see it here. So this strategy, it's really useful if you want to apply, if you want to take advantage of data specific gate. Another reason why I like this strategy is because at the end, you end up with, as you can see here, all individual pre-processed file. And this really gives me the flexibility to merge the one I want at any time. Okay, this is the reason why I didn't create immediately a concatenated file with all of them. I just load them into the data list as a merge file, and if I want, I can open another layout and just load those 7 or maybe those 3. Okay, so by keeping them independent, it's give me a sort level of flexibility in the subsequent step. But again, the disadvantage is that it's a two-step processing. It's a matter of minutes, but anyway. So now let's focus on the second strategy, the one I called on the fly. I'm going to load the data directly into the merge as a merge file into the file list. Okay, and then I will build the pipeline in a specific way. Okay, again, we can do it with any cleaning algorithms. Let's stick to FlowAI, for example. So FlowAI, we need to change our our layout options this way. Okay, so I'm going straight. I'm opening the data list. I'm loading my original file, you see here, as a merge FCS file. Okay. Now, what you see here is the merging of all the files, not pre-processed. So here I have all events, compensated and non-compensated parameter, no gating, no scaling, and so on. I go to Tools, Transformations, Pipeline. Remember, in this case, we are using FlowAI, so I want to take the template from the plot, okay, so that I can access both compensated and non-compensated data. And you might say, but now how can I tell FCS Express that the pipeline should be run independently on each file? Well, with version 7.16, okay, which is the version that I'm using, we added this option to the pipeline. It's called classification folder. You can find it under miscellaneous. It seems like a classical folder, but it allows you, to define a classification, okay, in this case is the classification identifier, so file by file, to tell FCS Express, looks FCS Express, any step, every step that I will add in this folder will be run independently on each file. Okay, so in this folder, I'm going to add a Flow AI. Now we know how to define it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The non-compensated, remember, dynamic range. Again, Flow AI won the non-compensated, non-scaled. And this means run Flow AI independently, file by file. And then I want to add a gate. Oh, we didn't create a gate, so let's do it. This is why you cannot use data-specific gate, because formally, this is a single data set. We know that it's not. We know that it's a virtually merged file, but for this gate, this is a single data set. So you have just one gate. You cannot use data-specific gate in this case. And then we want to add scaling. Okay. Sorry, I want it inside the folder, and I want to scale, of course, compensated data. Okay, in a specific way. And finally, we want downsampling, say 2000. And then we can add outside of this folder, let's say UMAP. Outside, because I want UMAP to be run on the merge file, but I want to run the pre-processing pipeline step on each individual file. Okay, so when you're ready, you can apply, oh, let's open a plot. Okay, you can apply this pipeline. The pipeline will run step by step. Let me see what I've missed. Oh, I didn't select the parameter for UMAP. You see, if it happened that you see like a blank, just go down here, open this report. You see UMAP could not be calculated. UMAP required parameter selection. Sorry, FCS Express. Let me go back here. Let's put on pause. And UMAP I want to be run on scaled, of course. Here we go. And let's run it. Okay. It's pretty fast. Here we go. You see, you have all the results of the pipeline. So you have the compensated scaled, UMAP 1, and UMAP 2. So just to summarize here, we have two ways. There are pros and cons in both ways, so feel free to use them at your convenience. The first one is the step-by-step. So you run the pre-processing pipeline on each file individually, you export the results, and then you merge the pre-processed file. The second one, the on-the-fly, means basically the opposite, because you first merge the file, then you run the pipeline thanks to the classification folder on each file individually, not the whole pipeline, only the pre-processing step. Okay, and oh, by the way, why we want to run the pre-processing file by file? Because the scaling, it's parameter and file dependent, because the cleaning, it's file dependent, because the gating, because the downsampling, it's file dependent. Okay, so you want 1000 events from each file, so that's why we are doing this. And then the final conclusion, so they want to take more time from you. So this is basically the conclusion from all 6 parts of this educational series. So high-dimensional data analysis, it's not magic. So if it doesn't give you right and good results, or let's say the expected result, is because either it has not been performed properly, or simply because there are no, let's say, interesting data in that data set. So don't be afraid. Take your time and put all your efforts as much as you can to learn high-dimensional data analysis. It's a really cool topics. Try to enter the mental model in which an high-dimensional data analysis experiment, it's like an experiment on the bench. So you need to plan it. You need to really focus on what you're doing, in which order, and why you're doing that. And finally, let's say, give the right importance, which is really important, to the pre-processing. Okay, because garbage in, garbage out. So if the pre-processing is poor, also tSNE and FlowSOM and Phenograph will generate like bad results. So what we have done basically in these 6 webinar, it's this light green portion of the entire analysis. If you want, after this pre-processing, if you want to go deeper in the what I call here analysis, so tSNE, UMAP, SPADE, and blah, 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 we have tons of webinar on our web page, on our website. So we have like 1 hour all dedicated on tSNE, 1 hour dedicated on FlowSOM, 1 hour dedicated on SPADE, and so on. And also remember that in our user manual, you will find a lot of useful details. Okay, so if there are questions, this is the right moment to ask them. So I will wait like a couple of minutes, and then I will let you go.